Welcome to CrossYoga with Ria, and that's my name. And this is the third part of the series called Stories We Tell. And this part is about stories we tell about ourselves. I started with stories about the future, about others, and then of course about ourselves. What stories do we repeat? What stories do we live in as we walk around in our everyday life? Work, studying, kids, free time, all of that. We carry a story with us and we need to be aware of that and maybe bring it into the story of truth and grace that God is sharing with us. Just a moment of seated breathing before we start moving. And if you have a block, it's probably super great to have it with you today, whatever it looks like. So I hope you sit somewhat comfortable, maybe on your block. Relax your shoulders, your face. And maybe you want to check in with your body, how it is feeling right now. Is there any tension or small pain you need to pay attention to or just notice? And already, with just me asking that question, we are heading into stories we tell. Maybe you have a story going on in your mind that I am not a person that get injured or feel pain, I'm strong. Or maybe you can always find some flaws in your body, you can always pinpoint a pain or a tiredness. Maybe that's the story you tell about yourself, that you are somebody who is always a little bit a victim of life. Bring your hands down to each side of the mat. And inhale as you reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, let the palms drop down slowly, almost like you're trying to fly. You can close your eyes. Inhale, reach your arms up. And maybe use the Ujjayi breath as you exhale and slowly lower down the arms. A few more times in your own rhythm. And next time your hands are down, you might sit and do some free seated movements or stretch out your legs if they're tired. So in a flow class, I always encourage to use the Ujjayi breath. That's that snoring, wave sounding exhale. We inhale and exhale through our nose as best as possible. I just want to mention, maybe before we get into downward facing dog, that when I pinpoint different parts of the stories that we tell, it's not for you to find all that's wrong with you. It's more to bring awareness to what's going on, right? And what stories you might unconsciously tell about yourself. Stories that you've gotten from going to school, from your upbringing, all sorts of different places. And we cannot release things that we're not aware of or we don't bring attention to. So that's why I want us to bring attention to it. So avoid that slamming of yourself in the head if that's what you tend to do on the mat when I ask questions. All right, bring your hand to the front. Maybe you take your wrist for a spin before we get into down dog. Lift the knees off and make the spine as straight as possible, and then just bend your knees as much as you need, especially when we're not warmed up. And then you might do a few things here with your legs, bending, stretching one at a time. Make sure you inhale and exhale deeply. Let's do a little bit of a sequence, maybe a new one. Coming into plank, and then get your knees down on the mat. You can use a blanket or something if it's too hard on your knees. Come up on your knees and bring your arms out to the side for that big circle motion. And then on your knees, go for a back bend. Open up your chest. Straighten your spine again. Move your hip back, kind of hinging forward. Bring your hands to the front of the mat where they would be in downward facing dog. So you're kind of leaning a little bit forward here. Planting your hands down, tuck the toes under. Take the knees off, and as you lift into downward facing dog, you take the right leg and put it back into three-legged dog. The right leg up and back. Then bring the right leg to almost where your right hand is. So kind of push it a little bit with your hand if that's what you need to do. Now you might want to use the block here for your left hand as you take your right hand up, navel towards the inner thigh, twisting. And you can do a big circle with that top arm. Bring it back towards the back leg, down towards the floor. Look at the floor in front of you and try to adjust your feet as you rise up into what is called high lunge. Turn the back foot, also stretching the front leg. I feel that's more comfortable as you turn the back foot, align it with the short end of the mat. Toes pointing out to your left side on the back foot, and then warrior two. And you windmill the arms around, hands down on the floor, just move the block away. Back heel off, step back, down dog. Repeating that, coming again into plank. Maybe take a breath here in plank. And then get your knees down. Coming up on your knees, drawing yourself back, bring your arms out to the side for the big circle motion. Up towards the sky, and then you maybe lean back. Kind of a surrender pose, maybe. Stretch your spine again, hinge forward, navel in, move your hip back, trying to slowly descend down here on the mat, tucking the toes under, and as you lift up into down dog, take the left leg back into three-legged dog. Bring the left leg to the top of the mat. Again, incorporating the block. I like that extra height that I get. I'll take it on the middle height. Bring the left arm up. And then circle that arm you have lifted round. And as the hand reaches down towards the floor, you might look towards the front and try to rise up into higher lunge. Pelvis, maybe you need to tuck that in a little bit, and it doesn't matter if you bend the back knee in making that happen, that's fine. Stretching both legs, turn the back foot around so that the heels are somewhat aligned, and warrior two. And windmill the arms around. Move the block away, back heel off, step back, down dog. You're welcome to do your vinyasa plank and all of that. I'm going to stay here today. Take 2 breaths. If you're in down dog, you might soften your elbows, soften the top of the shoulders and your neck. And repeating the sequence. Moving into plank. Taking your knees down, slowly come back on your knees. Bring the arms out, not too fast. Up towards the sky, and maybe you exhale as you lean back, push the hip forward, open up your chest. Straighten your spine, hinge forward. Hands reaches as far as possible to the top of the mat. Tuck the toes under. Lift up into down dog. Reach right leg up and back. And then the right leg to the top of the mat. Again, just use your block. Left hand. Right hand up, navel towards inner thigh. Circle the right arm around back. And slow down if you're super fast. And then reach the hands up. High lunge. Warrior 2. Turn the back foot, reach the arms out. Elongate from fingertip to fingertip. Back arm around, finding downward facing dog. Repeating the sequence, moving into plank. On your knees, exhale maybe. Bring the hands down, rising up. Inhale, arms out to the side. Exhale as you lean back, open up. Straighten your spine, inhale. Starting to hinge forward as you exhale. Tuck the toes under, inhaling. Reach up, exhale, left leg begins to reach up and back, three-legged dog. Inhaling, bringing the left leg to the top of the mat. And exhale, kind of getting there, maybe taking your block under the right hand. Reach the left arm up, inhale. And circle, exhale. And maybe take an inhale on the way here. Preparing, getting yourself into high lunge. Exhale at some point. Warrior 2, inhale, prepare. And exhale. This time, we bring the hands to the front and step to the top of the mat. So again, back heel off before you step the foot to the top of the mat. Fold forward. And then rise into mountain pose. Simply just standing on the top of the mat. Palms facing forward. So what are one of the stories that you got from your childhood? One of the stories, and you don't have to go deep if it's not your time right now, but maybe just one story. Good or bad, whatever. A story that you somehow picked up about yourself, about who you are. And I know these questions might be tough. Maybe it's like you got the answer right away. Maybe you're still pondering. It's okay. It's just to stay wondering. Now, two things you can do. If it was a story that you need to let go of or continuously are trying to let go of, you might shake things off. Jump, sigh out. Or if it's a story that you're grateful for, you somehow got through your upbringing, maybe bring your arms up towards the sky, looking up, and this showing gratitude. So choose whatever you like. And then And bring your hands down. I know it's short, but it's okay. It's always step by step. You don't always need to linger and spend lots of times in different scenarios of our lives. We're going to do dancer. So take your left hand, take a thumb back, and take the left foot. Maybe reach for the arch of the foot. You can do dancer here, or begin to lean forward. So you kick the left hand back and the right hand forward. So the knee is dropping back, not so much out to the side. One more breath. Release the foot, but keep it elevated. Bring both hands down. Maybe you want to incorporate the block. I like it once in a while. Half moon. So you open up the hip with both fingers on the floor. If you want to use the block, take it on the right hand. The right foot is down. And maybe then you lift up for a variation, a half moon. And then lower down the left foot at the back of the mat. Bring your block with you up into your hands. Now take the front foot and turn it around. If you have a hard time looking at the screen, you can always just turn here if it makes sense. Bring your feet slightly in and somewhat apart. We're going to do a little bit of thoracic movement, the middle part of the spine. So you hold onto your block like this, prayer hands. Keep the pelvis still, and then we slowly move the shoulders towards your right side. And notice if the hip moves along, try to stop it from doing that, and then to the other side as well. And then we can go a little bit faster. So keep the hip where it is. So notice that you're only moving the middle part of your spine. Might be harder than it looks. Just one more to each side. Bring the block down. Maybe you want to go for the highest height in front of your feet, but in between. Left hand on the block and reach the right hand up. Again, take the pelvis back, center it in between your hips. Go for a twist. And then take the right hand there that we're up towards the sky. See if you can reach the foot, opposite side, so you might let go of the block. And kind of just lean forward, hugging into the left leg as much as possible. Kind of a forward fold with a little bit of a side stretch. And then lift up. Just move the block to the top of the mat. You can turn yourself around, step to the top of the mat, fold forward. Shake any tiredness out of your body. And then rise up. Dancer, other side. So left thumb, you still stay put where you are. I'm just going to turn. Right hand back, reach for the arch of the foot, so don't take the knee out. Bring it back instead, and then lean forward. As you breathe, and keep the gaze on the floor rather than the screen. Release the foot. Both hands down, right leg stays up. With your hands down, you open up the hip, toes pointing out to the right side. Left hand might be on the block. I use my second height, like that. You can also do the highest. And then try to align your hips, stack your shoulders. breathe a lot. One more breath. Again, bring the block with you as you land the right foot at the back of the mat. And you say again, where it makes sense so you can see the screen. Take the block with you again in here. And we're going to do a little bit more side bending. So holding onto your block, reach the arms up overhead, navel in, pelvic floor in, and then lean towards the right side. Keep your core in. And then maybe leaning slightly forward. So you go in a variation of a side bend and a little bit of a forward fold. I wouldn't call it fold, but still. Coming back into side bending, lifting up. Whew, creates more heat than you would think. Go to the other side. And notice if you're telling stories about your body right now. Oh, I have to be careful. And of course we have to be careful, but we don't have to be afraid of our body. So just engage the pelvic floor, engage the abs, and then maybe don't go all the way if you're always competing with yourself. Maybe you want to be the best. Don't maybe this time. And coming up. And then bring the block down, highest height. Gonna go for the twist. So this time, your right hand will stay on the block and your left arm moves up, and then pelvis in between the legs. And then you let go. Left hand reaches up towards the right foot, and both hands actually do. Just bring the block if you want. Hug in as much as you can towards the right leg. And then lift up. Turn around on the mat so you face the screen. Child's pose. Bring your hands down by your side. And maybe sigh out. Lift up and then take a seat. Make sure your block is nearby. We're going to go for a supported back bend. So the block, if it's solid block like mine, you can grab a blanket and put it on top of it if it's too hard. You're going to come down with your knees knees lifted and your feet on the floor. Again, you lift your hip up and take whatever height makes sense and put it underneath that the pelvis, but not the hips, but more like that little bony part of the bottom part of the spine. Either stay here with your knees bended, kick it up a notch, or try to extend your legs out and just move the block so it feels like you get into a kind of restorative back bend, letting gravity give you that sensation of a back bend. No pain, shooting pain or something like that. You might also tell a story about yourself as a worker, like in your job, or if you're studying at your studies. Maybe you are like, I am the sweet one, or I am the clever one, or I am the fast one. And again, I'm not saying it's wrong, but maybe if you have put yourself and others put you in that box of always being the... Maybe you need to break free of it, because you're not just one thing. Bring your feet on the floor again. Lift the hip off, bring the block out to the side, and then hug in your knees. Sometimes I think, or at least I tend to get a little bit stressed because I have these, I am like this. Like I am always fast. If you want to get to know me, I'm always fast. And that's a part of my identity. But it can also be a part of my own jail, or things that are becoming not helpful. So sometimes I'll need to let go of that. Butterfly pose, the sole of the feet together. You can take the block and put it underneath your head if you like. Drop the knees out. Now, of course, I want to finish with us being a part of God's story. Because whatever stories we tell about ourselves, helpful or not, they might be true or they might not be. I believe that God, as the creator of not only our bodies, but also of our souls, of our minds, He gave us, each one of us, a fingerprint that is different from everybody else. So God has created us uniquely. And He has a story about our lives that we need to step into and walk in. This is a story I would like to share with you. It's from Psalm 139, and maybe you know it. But I'm going to read it from the Message version, paraphrase. So bring your knees together, find resting pose, or if you fall asleep, you might take this seated, and then I'll do the reading slow, and hopefully you can pray or meditating on getting this story as a part of your identity and what you bring along whenever you step out of bed, whenever you go to work, brush your teeth, whatever you do, that this might be a part of your story. So stay down or take a seat. So the psalmist is writing to God and about God. I am, and you are, an open book to God. Even from a distance, you, God, know what I'm thinking. You know when I'm leaving and when I get back. I am never out of your sight. You know everything I'm gonna say before I start the first sentence. So maybe inhale. I am fully known. No matter what else I have in my story, I am known by God completely. I look behind me and you are there, God. I look up and you're there too. Your assuring presence, coming and going. Is there any place I can go to avoid your spirit, to be out of your sight? If I climb to the sky, you are there. If I go underground, you are there. If I flew on morning wings to the far western horizon, you'll find me in a minute. You're already there waiting. So you are never alone. God is always with you, not because you are doing good deeds, because God is a good God, full of grace. You shaped me, first inside and then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. Body and soul, I am marvelously made. You know me inside and out, even every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made, bit by bit. How I was sculpted from nothing into something. So you are created with a purpose. Your life matters. Maybe you say that to yourself, my life matters. So this is where I finish our scripture meditation, but just again, you are, I am, fully known. I am never alone. My life matters. What does your everyday life look like if you lived in that story? I sense that some of you watching this maybe need to do this meditation a few times to rewrite the script and the story that you might have been telling yourself for a long, long time. And rewrite the story into, I believe, the truth about us in God's eyes. So my prayer is that God will bless you, that the stories of truth and grace will take roots in your life, and you may blossom and bring the fruits of that tree out to the world around you. Amen.